Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Alan with another broadcast of the Monologue Morning Digest. As always, I ask that you guys please like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, but most importantly, share the content to help the channel grow and beat the YouTube algorithms. You're going to find a couple of links in the description below for donations. I greatly appreciate all the help that I've been getting. It's going to help me out moving forward. No obligation, but there is a PayPal link as well as a Bitcoin wallet link below. You're also going to find a link to my BitChute channel as a backup in case YouTube wants to get rid of me like they have so many others. You'll be able to find me there if that happens. Now, with all of that said, I want to talk to you guys about a concept known as the 10th man strategy, right? And this was popularized in a novel, World War Z, that was adapted into a movie in 2013. And the premise of that movie is that there's a zombie apocalypse that catches the entire world flat-footed, that is, with the exception of Israel. And the reason Israel was able to prepare by building a wall around Israel itself, right, is because they implemented a strategy known as the 10th man strategy. And that is a council of 10 people, right? And there's one person on that council who is set aside to work under this principle. If the other 9 people of that council are given the same information and come to the same conclusion, the 10th person on that council, his duty is to operate under the assumption that those 9 other people on the council are wrong. Not only prepare for the worst case scenario that they are all saying can't happen, but also try to validate it. And this is exactly what Israel did during that movie. What's interesting is there's actually a council in Israel known as the Devil's Advocacy Group. And this is a group of people acting as the 10th man. And what they do is they view all of the Israeli intelligence. And when all of the intelligence that they are viewing is coming to the same conclusion, this advocacy group operates under the assumption that the rest of the intelligence agencies are wrong. They write a report on it, and it gets to everybody that makes decisions. Everybody. Okay? They put this strategy into place because of the War of Yom Kippur in 1972, all right? What happened is the Arabs launched an offensive attack against Israel, and it almost drove them into the sea, ending Israel. And Israel woke up to a very big realization that the improbable keeps happening over and over again, and we're not preparing for it. Because just a few years earlier, right, they had a bunch of people massacred at the Olympic Games. They had never foreseen it. It was still very fresh in their minds as well, the Holocaust, right? In the 30s, a bunch of Jews ended up in concentration camps. And based on the information that people would have gotten, they would have said that's improbable, it's never going to happen. But if they would have had a strategy like the 10th man for all of those events, they would have been able to foresee them and get out ahead of them. Now, what's interesting is this is not a new concept. It actually dates all the way back to the book of Job with the Divine Counsel. Basically, there is a gathering before the throne of God with a bunch of angels as well as Satan. Now, you have to realize Satan was not being used as a proper name in the book of Job. Rather, it was being used with the definition of adversary, prosecutor. The Divine Counsel was a 10th man strategy council that gave advice to God on corporeal events. Now, what's interesting here is if this strategy is inherently part of the system we are in, because if God is implementing this strategy has to be far-arcing and part of human nature itself. And this ties me into the true meat of what I'm trying to get at. Because there are certain people born into this world, or from this world, I should say, that were put here as the 10th man. A prime example of this is the Wuhan flu, the China virus, all right? I was one of the first people that jumped and said that we're going to see worldwide lockdowns. We're going to see the grinding of the economy. We're going to see a political shit show leading to civil disorder. Okay? We're going to see an economic downturn, etc., etc., etc. And everybody at the time told me that I was out of my mind. I was operating as a 10th man. What I did is I looked at society as a whole and I realized that they are all being given the same information and all coming to the same conclusion. It has to be somebody's responsibility to assume that they are all wrong. Because worse comes to worse, I'm wrong. Okay? And they're right. And we're not in the situation we're in now. Whereas if the 10th man strategy would have been implemented on a larger scale in government, right, we would not be in the situation that we are in. But as I have said, 9 out of 10 people born into this world don't operate like that. And because we have become so disconnected from nature, right? We are disconnected from recognizing the 10th man strategy as being inherently part of human nature itself. So what happens when somebody like me comes out and says all of this is going to happen? We get called crazy, we get ridiculed. But time and time again, we are correct. And what's interesting is, the more and more I myself have implemented the 10th man strategy in my life, the more and more I have woken up to the fact that the majority is almost always wrong. I took the same exact strategy into mind when I first heard about the flat earth. I looked at society around me and I realized everybody, given the same information, has come to the same conclusion. I'm going to take a step back from this and assume that they're all wrong. Not only are you going to assume that they're all wrong, you have to try to validate that their assumption is wrong. So that's what I did. Started doing scientific experiments, calculations, measurements. And the more and more and more I tried to prove what they believed correct, the more and more I realized that the information that they were being given was inaccurate. Alright? Just because you have information that looks convincing doesn't mean it's the truth. It's all based on interpretation. Alright? Because all of the numbers that they are operating under, right, are built on a foundation of sand. If you remove that foundation and replace it with a different foundation, you can take all of those same numbers and come to a completely different conclusion. I would have never recognized this unless I took a leap and assumed that these other 9 people were wrong and I put my neck out on the line. That's part of my nature as a human being. But society goes ahead and chops your neck off for that. I have a feeling the more and more we progress forward, the more and more we're going to realize there is value to this strategy. And I highly suggest that you yourself begin to implement this strategy in your day-to-day life. Because the more and more you do, the more and more you're going to realize that those 9 other people out there telling you this is how it is are more than likely wrong 9 out of 10 times. God bless. Have a great day. Take care of yourselves and become the 10th man.